Well, hello there, my dear friends. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And welcome to this announcement video. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Not another reading event. Well, there is another reading event, although it's one that, well, I was going to say happens every 4 years, but it will already be the third such one I've been doing since I joined BookTube just over a year ago. And that is a reading event linked to big international football competitions. We have done the European football tournament, we've done the African Cup of Nations, and now is the big one in the international football/soccer calendar, which is the World Cup. And the World Cup takes place this year from Sunday the 20th of November through to Sunday the 18th of December. And excuse me. And what this event is basically we follow the World Cup, and our reading is dictated by what happens in the matches of the World Cup. So anybody who wants to take part, please leave a comment below saying that you would like to do so, and it will be great. It really will be. So what happens is you get assigned a team. I will do a live draw of the participants on the 4th of November, Friday the 4th of November, at 7 p.m. Central European Time, 6 p.m. British Time, and I guess 12 p.m. is it in East Coast United States time? And then I'm not good at working out the rest, maybe 9 a.m. West Coast time, something like that. But if you're unsure, look up the time in Prague, Czech Republic, and it will be 7 p.m. here when I do it next Friday, so a week from today. So once you get drawn your team, that is your team for as long as that team remains in the competition. So what you have to do is read something from your team, from the country your team comes from. Now, it doesn't have to be a book, because I'm well aware that you've probably got a lot of other reading events going on. You could end up reading a lot in this competition if you draw a team that might not win that many games. So what you need to do, as I say, is read a book or an article or a short story or a magazine article or anything you like relating to the country you've been drawn. Then what happens is your team will play a match. If your team wins, good for you. You've read something from them already. No worries. You can take a week off, or have a long off between games. If your team loses, however, you must read something, whether it's a book, short story, article, whatever, from the team that beat yours. Yeah? So if your team wins all their group matches, then you spent about 2.5 weeks having only read one thing, which maybe that suits your reading schedule. Although you might be like me and want to read something from all the countries in your group anyway, just in case. Now, after the group stage of this competition, there's the knockout stage. And also, of course, not every team progresses. What happens in that case is that the team that knocks your team out of the competition then becomes your team. So you should read something from them. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. Yeah. So you basically get your team, you keep that team. If your team loses, you read something from the team that beat them. If your team gets knocked out of the competition, you then move over to being with the country that knocked your country out of the competition, and so on and so forth, until at the end there's a final between the last two teams left in the competition, which means that it should be roughly 50% against 50% of participants against each other. So if we have, let's say an England versus Brazil final, then 50% of the participants will by that stage have England as their group, so they would be reading stuff from England, and they would, and then 50% would have Brazil as their team, and they would be reading something from Brazil. If you're not sure still, because I understand these things are much easier to do than to explain, so just take a punt, join in, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it and you will understand exactly how it all works out. So there are 32 teams in the competition, so it would be awesome if we could have at least 32 people join up. It doesn't matter if more than one person ends up with the same team, but it would be a little bit sad if there are some teams that don't have somebody in them. There are 8 groups, and each group has 4 teams in it. So it means your team will play at least against 3 other countries before they may be knocked out of the competition. So you could, if your team goes on and wins it, you may only have had to read one thing if they remained unbeaten. Or alternatively, you could end up having to read 7 or 8 things if your team... well, I suppose not, because if your team loses all the group matches, the chances are they won't progress. But then you would still get... So imagine if you end up on a losing side each time, you could end up having to read 7 or 8 different things. So that's the beauty of it. That's the challenge. So what are some of the teams involved? Some of the countries involved? Well, I might as well just give you the list. It will make for interesting reading, I'm sure. Of course, the host is Qatar. So I don't know much about their literature, so whoever gets those will be in for a treat. Then we have Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands. That's Group A. Group B is England, Iran, the United States, and Wales. Group C is Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. Group D is France, Australia, Denmark, Tunisia. Group E, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. Group F is Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Group G is Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. And finally, Group H is Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. So these are the countries that you will have to read things from. You will be assigned your country, and you can stick with that. Unless your team loses, then you should read, as I say, something from the team that beat yours. So it's interesting. So, like, for example, if you get Argentina, you can choose in advance to read something from Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland, or you can just wait for the results of those matches. There's a few days between them, so it could be hurried. You might not want to choose something very long because you put pressure on yourself, but certainly short stories are a very good way to go through this competition, and a very interesting way as well of learning a little bit about the literature and things from these countries that maybe you otherwise wouldn't look at. So that's that then. I do hope you'll join us. So do put your comment below if you want to. And if you're interested in being a co-host, I don't need to dominate the thing myself. I'm more than happy to have people along as well to help me co-host this thing. Also leave that in a comment below. And as I say, I will be back next week. It doesn't really matter if there's not that much interest. I will do it for those who are interested, but it would be great to have at least 32 people involved. We had quite a lot involved over the last 2 tournaments, and it was great fun. So I will be back with a live show on Friday, the 4th of November, 7 p.m. Central European Time, to draw your names out of hats and assign you your countries so you can begin your preparations with about 2 weeks to go before kickoff. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Have a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.